Now, the long-divided Palestinian groups Fatah and Hamas are seeking ways to overcome their differences and share power. Their leaders held talks in Cairo on Wednesday in the latest attempt to bridge the gap between their parties. And as RT's Paula Slier now reports, it means a lot for Palestinian families, which have been divided by the political rivalry.
It's been 5 long years since this family was together. 1,800 days since Amina Musla last saw her son. His crime belonging to a group the Gaza government was opposed to. Except this time, it wasn't the Israelis who forced him into exile, but Hamas.
I left my family and house in Gaza and headed for the West Bank. It was only after the negotiations began that 17 of us were given approval to go back home.
It was back in 2007, in a surprise coup, that Hamas took control of Gaza from rival faction group Fatah. 161 people were killed and more than 700 injured. When the dust settled, the Palestinian people were divided. Hamas was in charge in Gaza. Fatah called the shots in the West Bank. Hundreds fled their homes from both, in fear of their lives. Like other Fatah supporters from Gaza, Mohammed took refuge in the West Bank, waiting for the day reconciliation would come.
All day and night I prayed to God to protect my son Mohammed. I prayed for his safety and asked God to bring him back home safe.
And now, for the first time, reconciliation between the two sides looks promising. Each feels boosted by recent successes and is more willing to compromise. Hamas is capitalizing on the recent conflict with Israel, despite the heavy cost, while Fatah is claiming victory after its President Mahmoud Abbas successfully upgraded Palestinian status at the United Nations. As Hamas and Fatah move closer together, the irony is that they're getting help from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. His right-wing policies and rhetoric are winning the Palestinian support and sympathy on the international stage. It was on Netanyahu's watch that, as the recent United Nations Palestinian statehood bid demonstrated, European unfailing support for Israel has floundered. It was also on Netanyahu's watch that US-Israel relations reached their lowest ebb. And now it's on his watch again that Palestinian unity seems plausible.
Hamas and Fatah have had a long-term interest of starting to cooperate again, because otherwise they're running the risk that Gaza and the West Bank will in the end no longer be part of the same political structure, which de facto right now is the case.
Leaders from both sides have renewed their calls for reconciliation.
If you'll ask Netanyahu, he thinks that, of course, the rapprochement between Hamas and Fatah is a catastrophe. It's proof that Fatah doesn't mean peace, etc., etc.
But for this family, nothing can detract from the feeling of gratitude and joy of a father and son coming home. Their tears and smiles echo the hope that a new chapter is also about to open in Gaza political life. Paula Slier, RT, on the Israel-Gaza border.